So in this example, I'm going to find the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared times e. Remember, e is a number. It's 2.718. Keeps on going forever. It's one of those irrational numbers. E to the power of sine of 1 over x. Now notice, in this case, this is undefined for the value of x equals 0. I can't plug in 0 because I've got x in the denominator here. That would mean I would do 1 divided by 0, and you can't divide by 0. So I can't just plug in the number and get something out. Now in this case, again, this is going to be a great problem to use the squeeze theorem on. So here's what I'm going to do first. I'm going to remember the good fact that sine and cosine always have to be between -1 and +1. So that's where I'm starting. No matter what I'm taking the sign of, it's always between -1 and +1. So now I'm going to kind of work with this a little bit and do a little algebraic manipulation. So if the sine of 1 over x is between -1 and +1, that should also mean that e to the sine of 1 over x is going to be between e to the +1 and e to the -1. Now I'm slowly building this back up to make it look like the function I already had. So here's what I'm going to do now. I've already got this e to the sine of 1 over x here in the middle. So now all I'm missing is that x squared. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take x squared times e to the sine of 1 over x. And I'm going to smush it between x squared times e to the first and x squared times e to the -1. Now let me repeat again. E is just a number. It's just a coefficient now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to evaluate the limit of these two things as they go to 0, and hopefully I get the same answer. So here I go. The limit as x goes to 0 of x squared times e to the -1. Well, that's just a number. That's just a coefficient. I can now plug in 0 for x. And so if I plug in 0 squared is 0 times e to the -1, well, that's just 0. So that limit goes to 0. All right, let me do the other side. So the limit as x approaches 0 of x squared times e to the first, again, all I have to do is plug in 0 and see what happens. So 0 squared times e to the first, e being, again, a number, we're going to get 0. So notice, this limit goes to 0. This limit goes to 0. So that middle thing, guess where its limit goes? It's got to be 0. So I found my limit using the squeeze theorem. Now let me repeat one more time. The squeeze theorem works because I'm squeezing it between two functions that have the same limit. So like I said, this works really well for functions that I'm struggling to find the limits of.